GitHub Projects gives us a few columns by default. But one thing I've noticed in doing Scrum is that a lot of teams like to customize columns for their specific flow. Maybe have a review column or a QA column or something like that. There's kind of a standard that we accept for a Scrum board, but then each team tends to do some kind of variation. And we certainly can do that in GitHub Projects. We can define our own columns, which we will do here. Now, the neat thing is we can also add a workflow to automate the flow of a ticket from one column to another. Let's take a look. I'll navigate to my existing project, and I'm going to select one of the views that is a board view. Now you notice if you look here, we have no status, to do, in progress, and done, and that's pretty much the bare bones of what you would need for Kanban or Scrum. But a lot of times we'll add more columns, like maybe a QA column or a code review column. Now that's a good question. Should QA be its own task? Should code review be its own task? You might see different variations of that in the field where QE or QA and code review is considered part of that original ticket. Then you might see other configurations where they get a separate ticket. So there's a development ticket, then there's a code review ticket and a QA ticket. Or you might even see the Scrum board adjusted to add a new column, like in review. So why don't we go ahead and just make a new column? Now, it's a little tricky because you wouldn't always think to go over here, but if we scroll to the right, you'll see we have a plus, which will allow us to make a column. And we'll call this one Review. And just to make it a little different than the others, I'll go ahead and assign it purple. And we'll say Development in Review. Something like that will be fine. And I didn't realize that purple was already used. But either way, we can drag this around because it kind of makes sense to be between in progress and done. And now we can drag our stories to this column that we've just made. But a really neat thing is the ability to add a workflow. And a workflow will do this automatically for us. So for a workflow, we click on the ellipsis up here and we choose Workflows. And let's say code changes requested. When a pull request has review requesting changes. Let's go ahead and choose Edit here. And we're going to say Set Value. And instead of in progress, take a look. There's our new option Review for that column we just made. So this just appeared because I made that column. And whoops. And now we'll say Save and turn on Workflow. And that means when we request a review on an item that's associated with that ticket will automatically move to in review. Now while we're here, let's go ahead and do code review approved as well. Once again, I'll choose Edit for this workflow. When a pull request is approved, let's change the status automatically to done. And you see, this kind of automation is what really helps make our Scrum project successful, because we don't have to remember, oh, go update this. And if we forget to update this, then things are out of date or things are out of sync. When the updates happen automatically, then we have a lot of certainty that something in that review column has a review requested, and then something in the done column has already been reviewed. So the workflow really helps us to manage and enforce best practices. Now you see there are several other workflow items we have here. Item added to project. Probably not a bad idea to go ahead and put this one in to do, so I can save and turn that one on. Item reopened, we'd probably put in to do or in progress. And then auto archive items, that's a handy one for housekeeping. Probably one of the easiest ways I can demonstrate doing a pull request and getting a code review is with a very simple README update. So let's go ahead and make a new task here. We'll simply call it update README. Now, as we've done before, I'm going to convert it to an issue, and I'm going to associate it with the project. So convert to issue, and I'm going to do my plant diary, and then 23SS, so on and so forth. I think we're all good here, so I'll just add a little, let's say, add a little description, and I'm going to go ahead and choose update comment. We're good at this point, but now I need to actually do a README change. So I go into this project and I can, this is my README, I'll show you how I get here. Just start at the home page of the project, then come down here to the README MD, which is this file that appears here by default. And now we'll go down to the bottom and I might say project management. This project uses GitHub, Jira, SAS, Software as a Service, and Confluence. And now watch carefully here. I'm going to say commit changes because a change to a README does count as a commit to our repository, but it actually makes this demonstration pretty easy on me because I can either commit directly to master or main. That we used to call it master, we tend to call it main now. Or I can say create a new branch. Go ahead and commit a new branch, and we know this is going to be, it's calling it DiscoSpiff patch 5, which is fine. I'll choose propose changes. We see we now have this DiscoSpiff patch 5 pull request. So I can go back to my board, and I really should put this in progress because it is indeed something that I'm currently working on. Now I can click, and let's go ahead and say open in new tab, open this item in new tab, and take a look down here at development. I'm going to hit the gear, and notice that I can now associate the ticket and the pull request together. So go ahead, choose the plus there, and then choose apply. And now notice the pull request is associated with this item. That is very powerful. If you create these issues, and then when you create a pull request, you associate the pull request with the issue, that's going to open up a lot of options for automation. And what we're going to find is that we can keep that pull request open, and we can keep adding things to it and doing the code review and things like that, and we can keep it associated with this ticket. It also gives us really good information because we know what pull request solves this ticket. And when we look at this ticket, we can take a look at that pull request and see how it's coming along and get a very much up-to-date status, which is great for Scrum Master, product owner, engineering manager because they get an up-to-date status. It's also great news for developers because that means fewer people are coming and asking you questions that they can find elsewhere. So I've associated it like so. Let's go back and I'll just do a quick refresh here, and we'll confirm that update README is still in this in progress column. Indeed it is. Now let's go back to that pull request, and by the way, if you happen to lose it, no big deal. Just hit pull request here, and you can see any updated any pull requests that you have open, or even ones that were closed. So I'm going to go ahead and choose update README and confirm, yep, that's DiscoSpiff patch 5. Remember, that's the one we made just a moment ago. But now I'm going to assign a code reviewer. And you'll notice it helps me out a little bit here because it says, oh, by the way, I have a suggestion. Would you like Ms. Spock to review? And I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, request review. Now watch, as I hit request review, we now actually have a code review requested. Now if I log on as Ms. Spock, I can take a note and see that DiscoSpiff requested your review on this pull request. So looking now from a different user, I can see that this review has been requested. I'm going to go ahead and say add your review. And we can see it's highlighting here only what I changed. So it's very easy for the reviewer to see what is changed. So I could say I can make a comment, I could approve, or I could request changes. Let's go ahead and approve and submit review. And we see that all checks have passed. As a matter of fact, if I go back to my view, we notice that this review now shows that it has been approved. So I can go ahead and merge this pull request and confirm merge, and now it is part of main or master. Now, let's do this one more time, but this time around, let's request a change to be made as part of that code review. So very similar, I'm going to go through here and I'm going to choose edit, and I can just add something silly towards the bottom, just some kind of update to this. And once again, we'll do commit changes, and we'll say commit to new branch. This time it's DiscoSpiff patch 6, and propose changes. Okay, we'll go back here and we'll create a new item again. As we did before, convert to issue, and we'll go ahead and associate it with this repository. And good. And it's interesting, you notice that the workflow automatically moved it to to-do because it's a new item added. One more thing we'll do, let's see, let's go ahead and associate it with the pull request just as we saw before. So we'll choose the correct repository. Ooh, it looks like I might need to actually create the pull request. Let's say compare and pull request. Create pull request. Okay. Development, let's make sure we have our pull request here. Sure enough, there's DiscoSpiff patch 6. Let's remember to choose apply. And those are now associated. Go back to our view, confirm that it's still sitting here in to do. Let's go ahead and say it's in progress. And now let's go back to our pull request and go ahead and request a review. There we go. And now let's take a look at Ms. Spock's view of this, as Ms. Spock now has one more thing to review. So from Ms. Spock's view, I'm going to go ahead and click on the repository. Then I'm going to look at pull request. I'm going to look at this pull request that was created. And notice that there's a note here, again, looking for Ms. Spock's account, not mine, that says a review is requested. So say add your review. And I'm going to go to review changes, and I'm going to say request changes. And I'll say, don't forget about the Scrum Master. And then submit review. And so notice that we didn't approve it, but we said that we requested changes. So if I now go back and take a look at the pull request, notice that it says Ms. Spock requested changes now, view review changes. It looks like our pull request had some code review comments on it that we have to address. So let's take a look at how we can do that. Of course, we could do it in our normal IDE, but we also have an opportunity to use a GitHub embedded IDE, a kind of lightweight IDE, which is going to be really handy in this case because I can show you exactly the change I'm going to make. And here's what was reviewed. And Ms. Spock's comment was, don't forget about the Scrum Master. Ah, good point. So I can hit review in code space. We'll say create new code space. This is a nice little online editor that we can use just right here. So I'm going to go up and say Scrum Master. Now come back to the left and you see this little kind of branchy thing going on, and notice there's an option to commit. So we'll say add Scrum Master and we'll choose commit and sync changes. And so that takes all the changes that we've done locally and it puts us up in a repo. As a matter of fact, take a look at this. This is really neat. You notice that add Scrum Master is a new commit, and you can see there the change that we added Scrum Master. But notice something really interesting. It is a new commit on this branch. So you see, we can create the branch, we can associate it with issues, and then we can still make changes and associate them with that branch so that they still get associated with that issue. Now at this point we can say, okay, I've satisfied the change. We could ask for another review if you want, but either way I'm happy now that we have satisfied the change requested. So I can go back to my pull request and I can say re-request review since I made these changes, and notice that the icons here switch. I go back to Ms. Spock's view and we notice that we get another request for review. Ms. Spock looks at this, sees the word Scrum Master, says review changes, and this time says approve, submit review. So we've just had a review requested, and we have received some change requests from that review. We've made those changes. We asked for a re-review, which is common. Now the changes were approved. Now that our pull request has been approved, let's go ahead and merge the pull request and watch as the cards automatically move to the correct column. We go back to my view in GitHub, and you see that once again the icon has changed. We could re-request review. That's still there. But now we have a checkbox indicating that these changes were approved, and now we can merge a pull request and confirm merge. So that's a good look at how we can manage code reviews with both pull requests and also with multiple reviewers and with GitHub's workflows and GitHub's processes. As a matter of fact, let's go back to our board with our workflow, and you notice without any involvement from me, our README tasks have moved all the way to done, and remember why that is. That's because we've set up this workflow where if a code review is approved, the item automatically goes to done, no manual intervention needed, and our board is an accurate representation of our work's completion at this point in time.